Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm Doc Rotten, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-hosts on the net, and tonight we're reviewing Seance. Oh boy. All right, with me tonight is lead news writer for Gruesome Magazine, Dave Dreher. Dave, how you doing, sir?
Hello, group. What's going on? Are we ready for a seance?
Let's do it. Let's do it. You got the Latin down?
Who brought the pentagram?
All right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
I think as a young high school girl, I really appreciated this film.
Oh, nice.
Just saying,
high school girl.
It taps into my inner high school girl.
Yes. You know, I was wondering if it was going to do that. All right. Let's welcome podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen Vanessa. Vanessa, how you doing?
Chris stole my intro. Damn it, Chris.
You're welcome.
All right. So you all dressed up to go back to high
I
school?
feel like an old middle school high schooler.
Middle school, high schooler.
I was going to wear that same outfit.
Middle age. Whatever.
But you pull it off a whole lot better than I would. I would look very sad.
Thanks, Chris.
They should have cast you in this film.
No kidding.
I'd be the raging bitch.
There's lots of raging bitches in this film.
That's our review. Good night. No, okay. So what we're going to do is
put that on the Blu-ray. Lots of raging bitches in this film.
Oh yeah, that's going to go over so well. Direct all your comments to. All right, so we're going to do is we're going to review the film. We're going to give our first impressions, and that'll be spoiler free. Then we'll get into discussion. There might be a few spoilers there. Kind of have to be in some cases, and then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our favorite scene, and our score 1 to 5. So that's going to be exciting. But what are we talking about? What is this Seance film? Yes, it is from RLJE Films and also from Shudder. So it'll be on that probably later in the season. It's available in theaters, on demand, and digital May 21st, 2021. Written and directed by Simon Barrett. This is his directorial debut. He's a writer that works a lot with Adam Wingard, so really cool. The cast includes Suki Waterhouse, Madisen, Beaty, Megan Best, Ella-Rae Smith, Inanna, Sarkis, Stephanie Sy, Jade Mitchell, Juliet, Amara, and Seamus Patterson.
Seamus.
The one male in the entire movie. The synopsis is Camille Meadows is a new girl at the prestigious Edelvine Academy for Girls. Soon after her arrival, 6 girls invite her to join them in a late-night ritual, calling forth the spirit of a dead former student who reportedly haunts their halls. But before morning, one of the girls is dead, leaving the others wondering what they may have awakened. So, sets us up for a supernatural slaughterfest. Does it deliver? Well, that's what we're after here tonight. Let's find out what our first thoughts are, and we're going to start off with Vanessa.
Ooh, me.
Yay!
Not Dave.
Yeah, go to the 60-year-old dude about this one.
Yeah, go to him first. You know, I didn't expect much from this movie to begin with. I knew it was going to be for people of a certain age, about 12 to 17, and that's what we got. So judging it off of that, I think it's perfect for that audience. I think it's a great introduction to a slasher movie. I love that it's a female ensemble cast. You get a bunch of these teenagers that you can yell at and think are stupid and they're bitches to each other and all that. So, you know, if everything is new to you in the genre, I think this is a really great introduction to that. As someone who's a bit more seasoned in the genre, it seemed a little trying to me, a little taxing at times. Honestly, until I got to the last 20 minutes of the movie, I really could care less about what was going on. And it doesn't feel like the first hour and 10 minutes did much to inform me that much about the last 20 minutes. So, you know, I am not the audience for this, but that doesn't make it a bad movie.
Okay, all right, we'll go with that. Well, if you're not the audience, let's bring Dave in because he might be.
Definitely.
Dave, what was your first impression of Seance?
You don't know, but I'm sitting here with my little Catholic schoolgirl dress on. You just can't see it. So
we match.
This was definitely not meant for me in any way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, it was just really boring. What Vanessa was saying is correct. The last 15 minutes or so, we actually get a little bit of action, and that's actually pretty decent. We can't really discuss it much without going into spoilers. But up till that point, I was having a hard time staying involved in this one. I mean, you just got a bunch of bitchy girls who are running around being mean to the new girl. And then, of course, there's the girl with the heart of gold that befriends her and tries to stand up for her and, to her own peril. But none of it mattered. And the actors were all way too old for the roles. Way too old for the roles. That'd be like me, Chris, and Doc being the new Goonies. Yeah.
I'd be up for that. Goonies never die. They just get older.
No, but again, you kind of have to measure it against the fact that this was probably a film that was made for my granddaughters to watch. I mean, they're 12, 13, 14. I mean, I think, the ending might be a little harsh, but all the school age fluff stuff there at the beginning, would definitely been more up their alley than what I was seeing. So yeah, this did not impress me. I was really hoping for more out of Simon Barrett. I usually like his work. His writing is usually good. I don't know that this one was even particularly well written though. Unfortunately,
that's a good question there.
Yeah. So yeah, my first impression is not a good one.
Ooh. All right. Well, let's go a little bit more on the feminine side. Christopher Chimar.
Here in my masculine and femininity to take
put him up. I'm the mean girl. All right. You let us know. Let us know what your first impression of Seance was.
AKA very Mean Girls. No, it's almost like Mean Girls meets Scream a little bit, but it doesn't really. And you know what? I think you guys are giving it too much credit. I don't think it's made for a certain audience. I think it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do well. Because we reviewed a movie called Spontaneous recently, which is a high school movie.
Great movie. Love that movie.
I could watch that over and over. It's almost like John Hughes. This feels like they took the normal slasher supernatural thing and just based it in a what I didn't know was a prep school until the end, until like halfway through. I thought it was a college because these Suki Waterhouse, a lot of these actresses are a little bit older, or at least I thought they were older than what they were. They didn't look like high schoolers.
They're supposed to be seniors. Yeah.
Well, 17.
No.
And then you have So
I mean, they look good for their age. Don't get me wrong.
No. I mean, it's not like
they're great.
No, I think it has nothing to do with us saying that they look like they're 60 years old or something.
They look like women.
They look like they don't look like young teenagers.
Yeah.
And they, I mean, and so I was kind of thrown off by that. But yeah, it has those kind of elements that we've seen before. Even has the whole sort of almost like the Bloody Mary type aspect to it with the supernatural thing. But then you have the slasher aspect of it, which you have sort of a, without giving anything away, there's like a big reveal type thing at the end, which but yeah, I didn't. I mean, and I think when you have that scenario where you have a bunch of like jerkish kids, you don't really care if they get killed off. So there's really no there's really now if it was like people that you really cared about, then there's more of an impetus to sort of like, okay, I'm more invested in this. But because there wasn't really, you didn't really care. You're almost like, oh, good, this each one of these jerkish kids. So yeah, I mean, and as a filmmaker, and maybe I'm the only person that noticed this, they must have shot it in a real school, because there's certain scenes where they used like almost like a wide angle type lens, which made the edges of the screen curve. So it bothered me anytime they had like certain shots where they had like a whole group of them to where they have to get everybody in the shot. You could see it looked weird, almost like a fisheye lens, and it bothered me. So it's like, I mean, you need to figure that stuff out before you shoot in a location, because then it's like every time they'd go to a shot, it would just look off. Almost like they were using a real fisheye lens when they were probably just using a lens they weren't supposed to use in such a compact location. So, yeah. So I don't know. I think it's just it's kind of a disappointment, because I when I saw the trailer, I was actually interested in seeing this, but it doesn't feel like what they sold in the trailer, and it's very. It feels like one of those. It feels like a film that probably would have been made in the 90s when we had that whole like slasher thing with I Know What You Did Last Summer. It feels very I Know What You Did Last Summerish. But it feels very tropish in that respect, to where it's like a lot of these scenarios. I mean, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go dance in the dance room where there's a bunch of creepy statues. I mean, it's just like and I was like, really? I wouldn't be dancing in there if there was a bunch of creepy ghost statues staring at me while I'm dancing by myself. So I don't know. There's a lot of choices in this that don't really work in it, and it feels like stuff that's like that we've seen before, which is kind of sad. But I will say, just like Vanessa said, I mean, there's a moment towards the end, the last 20 minutes or whatever, that I was into it. I enjoyed it, because when certain things happen, I was like, whoa, where was this the whole time? This aspect of it. And if the rest of the film was like that, I would be all for it. But I think it felt like a normal type of thing that really didn't add a lot to it, other than trying to keep the mystery aspects. And then there even though there's a reveal part, I kind of saw that somebody was involved the whole time. So I don't know. I think this film was a little bit of a disappointment for me.
I totally get you all, and I'm kind of questioning myself, because I actually like this movie. I had a good time.
Wow.
I had a good time. But I will admit that like Christopher, I was thinking they were already in college, right? And because they look like college kids at the very, they couldn't be younger than college kids, so they got to be college kids. And then somewhere along the line, I realized they were in a prep school, not college, and I was like, oh, I don't feel good about this anymore. It's like, but by that time the ending came along, and I'm really liking the final bit of it. I think the movie nails that, and it's usually a good thing when the film nails the ending, because that's what sits with you a lot of times. But I really like the Suki Waterhouse character, and her as well as the actress, and she comes in and you feel like she's a badass, and you feel like she's hiding something, and you're following that, and I felt very interested in that, and finding out what was going on with her, and does she have a connection? What is that connection? What's going on? Because it just felt like there was more to her, and I really got into that. And the supernatural, so they play heavy into this jokes, because the Mean Girls have a system, right, to play pranks on new students, and that's what starts off the movie. So the one girl at the beginning, who we don't know, so we can't be invested, isn't one of the Mean Girls, if you will. So, but later when we know all the Mean Girls, you don't care. You don't care. And it's evidence, because if you look at the last 20 minutes, there's one particular person, and that particular person's unconscious almost the entire time. It's like, we don't know what to do with her.
Just lay her there.
Just lay her there and knock her out. So some reason that I have no way to explain other than just blind optimism, I actually kind of enjoyed the movie, and I do think it is very much, I still think it's very much for a certain crowd. I mean, I don't think it pulls it off for that crowd very well. Like Christopher was saying, it doesn't really do one or the other. But I really got, I got more of an 80s vibe out of it, Christopher. Like, and this is why I thought it was more like college because they would be in high school and they do something stupid, and then they would all kind of meet later on in life, and then they'd have to deal with the consequences, and it kind of had that vibe to it, but with a little supernatural thrown in, with ghosts and spirits and seances and whatnot. So I enjoyed that vibe. I enjoyed that feel, but it is a sloppy, messy film. And I think the casting, although I like all the cast, really doesn't work for the age group they're playing.
No, and I had a hard time even telling them apart, like knowing who was being murdered and who was still around. And like first they cast too similarly in people. And I have a big problem casting grown adults in roles that are supposed to be children. Having adults portraying children just like adultifies children in ways that we don't need to be seeing. Mm-hmm. And especially in situations like this where you have a bunch of girls running around in Catholic schoolgirl uniforms, So to have a 30-year-old doing that and say she's 17 is kind of weird. I just had so much, I just had so much trouble.
I'm pretty sure there's a YouPorn channel dedicated just to that.
Stop!
Oh,
no! Dave, keep that over there.
Don't flag us. It's not us.
Don't ruin my innocence.
Although I will say, I think one unique thing was their planchette made out of like a phone case and a lipstick container, which almost felt like something a guy would write. But
it is, because that would not work. It would never work. The minute you put a tiny ounce of pressure on that, the thing is gonna go flat.
I was like, how is this? I mean, I guess, I was trying to think about how that logically that would work. It just seemed like stylistically, like this is what a bunch of teenage girls would do. Create a planchette, which
that's why it feels 80s.
To me, I just found it to be hilarious and interesting because instead of your normal planchette thing, of course, also it's like, hey, if you're doing seances and doing planchettes, you're gonna get in trouble later on.
Yeah, you know that you gotta do that, right?
But yeah, I think that was the only thing that kind of made me, that I kind of chuckled about, because you'd only see that kind of choice in a movie instead of in real life.
Like when they go to scare the girl and the two girls are skipping away holding hands, like no, they would not do that.
Yeah, that was groan worthy. Yes.
Yeah, right. Like there's just so much about this movie that felt that way, like just not realistic at all.
Yeah, and as much as I like the Suki Waterhouse's character, logistically how things happened with her character, I don't see how that works out for her to be integrated and stuff, and without giving anything away. But to me, it didn't really make sense. I mean, it makes sense in the aspect of why she was there, but how she got there didn't really make. I'm not sure how you could go about doing all that stuff, So yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this is like to me. It's
maybe if you're actually 30, maybe she's actually 30.
Well,
I mean, maybe that makes sense. Maybe she's like the girl in Orphan. She's actually like a 50-year-old woman who masquerades.
Getting revenge.
You find out that she's actually the mother of the person who got killed in the very beginning.
Yeah,
that would be a hell of a twist, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, they could have.
Yeah, she would.
But that actually logistically sounds better.
It works better. Also, are these the most unsupervised teenagers ever? Is this Hogwarts? Are there 2 teachers in this whole school?
2 teachers.
What?
And it's such a small prep school. You can smoke weed in your in your rooms.
That was the most believable part.
Yeah, it's like, this is really small. So then it just made it logistically even more tough how that girl could get in this school.
Oh my god,
it's that small.
The more we talk about it, the more it just feels like a dude wrote this as like a fantasy piece.
I took it for what it is. It just it's movie school. It's not real school. It's not supposed to be a real. It's like Hogwarts. It's like Hogwarts doesn't really couldn't exist in real life, and this is like the Hogwarts of teen slashers.
Oh my gosh.
It might be. All right. Well, so we've kind of dogged Simon Barrett as the writer. What about Simon Barrett as the first-time director? did he have flourishes? Did he handle the material in a directorial sense? Did it have style? Did it have flash?
Other than picking wrong lenses.
Well, you pointed out picking wrong lenses. Was that him or the DP? I don't know, right? So
Well, but you know, you could have.
I didn't know. I watched it on my phone, so I didn't notice that as much.
phone. Oh,
I know.
Well, I maybe I'm the wrong person to criticize such things because I noticed it. Maybe other people don't really notice
You're
it.
the director. You're the right person.
But I mean, you know, you said it was very 80s, but it did feel very 90s.
Like
you know,
the craft, kind of.
Yeah, because it was. I mean, music played a big part. To the point to where you think something was the actual score, and it would always be something to somebody would take out their earbuds, or they'd be hitting their little speaker, and you're like, oh, it's part of it. Because at first I thought there was like one part where the sound goes off, and I was like, something happened to the movie, and it was it's because their little sound box went off. So it felt very 90s because you have the one girl where the girl's dancing to her music. There's a lot of that. It to me, it felt very 90s. Like this would fit really well during that heyday of teen slasher movies and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That scene in particular felt a lot like Suspiria to me. Like I could see some influence. The dancing scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was the kind of prep school it was, right? Because but yeah, it was.
Well,
like,
but then it's like at the same time, it's like a lot of those things you kind of set up certain things to throw people off as to if somebody's involved with certain situations, and there's not really a lot of people to pick from.
We don't know anybody else, right? Other than the two teachers, the cast, and the guy that fixes everything. So. Yeah,
and even the teachers are more just just heads. If they're not even like real people, pretty much.
They're like
you just hear, yeah. The only person is that like the head mistress or whatever you want to call her, this prep school.
Let's call her Dean.
Dean. So yeah, and then you have like the whole Bloody Mary aspect of the girl that died, which I've made me feel really old. But it's like, let's go through the yearbook of 1992.
Oh my no!
I feel really old. If this is considered to be like because back in the days, like back in the 1940s, this is just a yearbook from 92,
95,
or 95, or when it was in the 90s. It sounds like, okay, yeah. I think that was the moment where it's like, yeah, maybe I'm not the right audience member for this. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind films that involve like teenagers and stuff. Like I said, The Spontaneous is like one of my favorite films I've watched this year.
Anna and the Apocalypse is one.
Anna and Apocalypse. I mean, any of those. But this,
even the superhero one we just watched. What's it called? The Marvel one we just watched. Anyways, going off track.
Okay.
But I guess I think for me it just felt very it just felt like stuff I'd seen before. There wasn't really anything really added new to it. And I mean, I think Simon Barrett, I think he's a okay filmmaker. I mean, other than my problems with certain lenses, I think that certain things are shot okay. And there are the setup with certain scares. I think there's I'll say a oh shit moment towards the end, which I think hopefully I'm sure all of us probably enjoyed.
Yes.
That I think was set up right. Especially the kills towards the end is like where I was actually cheering. So I think those are very effective. I just wish that was more of that early on, to where it was just, I think a lot of the kills were, even though they got killed in different areas, it was just very, very simplistic, not really anything stylish wise that really stood out.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't 80s in that respect, where you get the crazy slasher moment. It didn't do that at all, at least not until the end. The ending really rocked it. I will say that I thought a lot of times the camera movements that he chose and how he framed things, I don't know why I was taking particular notice in that. I guess because I'm a fan of his work and I want to see how he is as a director. So I was looking for things, and instead of just coming, showing somebody through a window, it kind of rose up to the window so you can see. There was just good solid kind of bringing somebody into the scene type shots. And I thought, like you were saying at the end, the shot that we all like, it's framed at the right way to make that work, right? It's a little bit.
Well, I think it's unexpected. That was the one moment of unexpected glee for me, because I didn't know. It just came out of nowhere, and I didn't expect it. As opposed to, like there's a scene early on where she's in that lot of basement area, and there's those open areas in the books, and you realize,
what's going on,
something's gonna peek its head at some point in those books, and then he plays just the James Wan thing, where like there's nothing there right there, and then it pops up later, So yeah, I mean, you can see that he can definitely tell a story, but at the same time, I think his script to create that story wasn't really strong enough to sort of allow it to work as well as a lot of these films in the past that we've loved in the similar genre.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely looking forward to for his next thing. I wish him luck, and I think it's I don't think it's a horrible first time out at all. Period. I think I actually thought he handled the material pretty well. The material itself we having a little problem with. I think the casting, as much as I like the actresses, the age thing I think worked against it. But it'll be interesting to see. I'd like for my daughter to see it, and then if she would point out that and say, why is this woman 10 years older than
me? Maybe there'll be less critical of it than us. I don't know.
Maybe it'll be interesting to see. I mean, that is definitely the crowd is going for.
Because sometimes you can overcome that if it's based on performances or dialogue, to where they make it feel real. Of course, we grew up in an era where like 90210. the 80s stuff was like built on like having 30-year-olds play high schoolers. So what do we know?
What about Sweat Hogs? Before that, right? So.
Well, yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead, wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, you're listening because that's the only way you're hearing this. So we want to thank you for hanging out with us. We hope you're enjoying this review and many others that we have. Please check those out. If you want to support us, it's really easy and simple to do. Hit the subscribe button or share with a friend. Just that will do wonders. If you want to leave some comments, we'd love to hear them. We want to take a quick moment to thank our patrons over at Patreon, who, without their support, we wouldn't be able to do not only Horror News Radio that you're listening to now, but Gruesome Magazine, where we do the streaming stuff, Decades of Horror, where we do the retro stuff, and then Heroes and Droids, where we do superheroes and Disney and fantasy films. We just go down that road. Yeah. We do. All right, let's do this. Final thoughts on score and favorite scene. Vanessa, you're up first.
Me first. Yeah, I just think this had some issues. I wasn't a fan, especially the more that we talked about it. I'm not really a fan of the script. I didn't think there was anything that original in the direction or in the way it was shot. I agree with you. I think the actresses were good. I just don't think they were the right choice for this movie. And I think it lacked a lot of female perspective, honestly. Had we gotten some more of that, I think we would have felt a little different about it. We didn't dwell on it too much because that's where all the action is, but in the last 20 minutes of the movie, it really does do some cool things, and there's a cool twist that happens, and you get some of the coolest kills. But overall, I definitely say if you had someone new to the genre, this would be something that they might be more interested in seeing.
You're saying this is gateway horror?
Sure. I mean, if I were to gateway someone, I would probably go with Jason or Freddy or something like that. But or even some of the old like April Fool's Day or what's the prom night. There's other movies with teenagers that are in the horror genre that I think do a better job of it, either by being funny with it or being more creative with it. That there's just a lot of things. This just felt like something anybody could do. The whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, so they just gave somebody some money to make a movie. They didn't have to be original with the script. They didn't have to be original with the kills or anything. Because the first however many kills were like, we've seen that happen so many times, and it wasn't even done in a way to like be an homage to having seen them, like the shower kill. Like, how many times have we seen that in classic slasher movies, but it still fell flat, right? So there's just some things about it that just didn't really work for me. So on that note, I'm gonna give it a 2. I'll give it a 2. Yeah.
Oh my, that's so generous.
Yeah. Oh, and it's really because of the last 20 minutes. You know, I don't know. I even think like the relationship between the two girls was forced. Our two main girls that survive at the end. I felt like that was a little forced too. But anyways, I liked that little twist that they did with our main character. And my favorite scene is when Trevor loses his head.
Oh my goodness! Yes. Oh,
those are always my favorites.
I was like, oh, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? It happened!
Yeah.
All right, that was great. I did enjoy that. All right, hey, sir, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
I think we can safely call this film a disappointment. I mean, you know, Simon, he gave us You're Next, right? And The Guest. You know, so it's a shame that he chose something that's so weakly written for his directorial debut. I don't think he's a bad filmmaker. I think it's an okay outing for a first-time director. But why he chose this story, which really, what I know of his body of work, is probably some of his worst writing. You know, in my opinion. So just kind of an odd choice for me. The movie itself I was not involved at all until the very, very end. But that's when Simon Barrett did what we know Simon Barrett can do. He brought out the blood, he brought the gore, you know, he brought some inventive kills. So I'm going to follow the path of Vanessa here. I'm going to also go with a 2. And there's no way you can choose any scene other than the decapitation. That's the scene. That is it. This is going to be one of those instances where we're all for.
I think there's another scene.
We're all
There's
for.
one more, maybe.
I disagree on that.
So I'm going to join along in the chorus of decapitation. As the favorite scene.
It was earned. I just want to say that I said this was Simon Barrett's directorial debut, and technically it is for a theatrical feature, but he did do a segment of VHS2 and he did some shorts. But I was speaking in respect to a theatrical full feature film.
Full feature, yeah.
Yeah, just so everybody knows. All right, Christopher G. Moore, you're up next, sir. You're oh dear God. Your final thoughts, your score.
Why are you worried about me? Yeah, so this is I will say I think more than anything I think there was potential to do something good here, but I think it felt very monotonous and sort of like those things that we've seen before. It didn't really add anything new other than the Lipstick Planchette, which sounds like a really bad band name.
No, doesn't it?
But maybe I should trademark that for.
I don't know. It's actually a better band name than how it came out in practice in the movie.
If I ever create a band, I'm going to call it Lipstick Planchette, and I'll thank Simon Barrett for it.
Maybe not. Maybe don't do that.
Maybe don't do that. But you know, I think you know, I think it. I mean, I think it was kind of interesting where you do have a film where primarily the cast are all female, except for there's actually only one guy character in the whole movie, which is good to see. But it did feel more. It felt more character than characters. And when you're making something that has, even though it has a supernatural aspect of it, when it has the slasher aspect of it, you really have to put an interesting flair on it for it to stand out. And this felt almost kind of restrained. Up until the last 20 minutes, it feels very restrained in its approach and attempt to tell this story. And I think in that respect, it was kind of like it was just there. you know. And then when the primary people that are getting killed are people you don't like, there's less of an interest in these characters in general, even though you know, you would hope in that kind of, with the way the story rolls out, that there'd be some kind of arc where maybe characters would be more likable. And then the one character kind of disappears. So, but yeah, it was a disappointment for me because I was probably one of the people, I saw the trailer and this looks interesting, and then I watched it and the actors didn't really feel right for their parts, and logistics of why the main character, the twist happens, doesn't make sense. But I think the selling point is that last 20 minutes where the shit hits the fan and heads hit the things, and and then that's when it gets good. I mean there's literally a point in the movie where I sat up and cheered because I was like, I was not expecting that to happen. It came out of nowhere, and I was like, where was this the whole time? That was the big twist for me. It's like, where was that? That was a Scooby-Doo moment. It's like, where was this film the whole time? Why wasn't the whole film like that one moment? And I kind of hope they make a whole John Wick series of her going to different places.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Only if they reveal she's actually 30.
Impersonating people, and you find out she's almost like Wonder Woman. She's like maybe 1,000 years old, and and she's just going around doing her her thing of just doing justice for people. So if I were to give it a rating, I probably will give it a better. I'll give it a 2.5.
Oh, okay.
I think for me, if I could just watch that one moment, the 20 minutes moment, if it was just a 20 minutes film and it was that moment, I would watch that over and over because was such a shocking moment. I was like, whoa. And I think that's the big selling point for me. But sadly, the other stuff is basically the same stuff we've always seen. As for favorite scene, I disagree. The head scene is not my favorite scene. My favorite scene happens before that. When a light fixture comes down. And then what she does with that light, the light in the light fixture is like, whoa.
Yeah, that was cool.
But the light fixture thing, literally, I was like, what is she doing? I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Bravo.
So I will give him that. The way that was shot was really good because it led to that being a surprise, you know, from the moment it just happened, you know, because you don't know what she's doing.
You don't know what she's doing. She's trying to get away from this killer person. And then what she does is like, oh my God, that's brilliant. I want to see more of that stuff.
Yeah.
But maybe her character should have been the killer in the movie, killing people in intricate ways, because I've never seen that kind of thing before. And so I think if more scenes had that kind of impact for me, this film would have been like highly rated. But yeah, that specific scene is like, even before I was still thinking about it. I was like, oh man, that's so cool. And then that character doesn't hold back. The whole 20 minutes. She's not taking any crap. She's not like that final girl who's like, oh, I'm scared to cut someone. No, she's gonna cut you. She's gonna make sure you're dead. And that's what I loved about it. That level of commitment as a final girl, you don't see very often. So I think that's the element that really changes how a lot of these films play out. And I'd love to see more of that ingenuity in the early parts of it as well.
Yes.
You know. So that's my favorite scene.
Yeah, I have to agree that I think the last 20 minutes is the Simon Barrett film that we wanted throughout the other hour and so often that, you know, whatever was the rest of the film. Somehow, though, in my naivety, I enjoyed it. Innocence, being naive, whatever. I don't care. Somehow I enjoyed it. It is not a great film, but I think it's enjoyable. I think there's a way to get into it. Like I said, I really liked our lead character. I thought her entrance into it and her the position that she had, while it's typical, there seemed like there was something else to it, and I was interested to find out what that was. And they deliver on that. They absolutely deliver on that, and they deliver on it far better than I had hoped. Right? I think there are a few reveals, and I think her reveal is quite good. It makes her a character who was already a fairly interesting character to watch, was much better and rounded out. And it may not surprise everybody, but and I'm not entirely sure it surprised me, but it still was satisfying. I guess is the point I'm saying, is that I liked it. Excuse me. But was that a lie cough? No. I did actually like it. The one thing that did frustrate me, outside of the cast looking like they're too old and realizing that they were in prep school, not college, was that the early kills were primarily off screen. I mean, there was like some indication, but up until the one dancer, we really didn't get to see what exactly was happening, and it felt like, oh god, this is a PG-13 movie dressed up just enough to be R. How lame is that? But the last 30 minutes, I think, changed that, definitely. So be patient with it. If you do watch it and you're kind of okay with it, I think you will really enjoy the last 20 minutes or so. So hang out with it. And I liked how it wrapped up. Somebody said it felt a little forced, and I can't disagree with that, because they didn't really give enough to make that relationship as strong as it wanted to be at the end. But at the same time, I dug it. I thought, yeah, that's kind of cool, because I thought the actress, especially the not with the other actress. Let me see if I can find out who she is. I thought she really sold it. I believe that
She, to me, she was the only believable one that felt like a teenager.
The friend,
Yeah.
because she's young. She's the youngest one out of all of
Is
them.
she's the only one that felt genuine,
Yeah.
as that sort of like geeky, nerdy, shy character. She's the only one. Although I will say that, yeah, that the very, very ending thing with the window made me roll my eyes.
I'm not going to pick that as my favorite scene, I promise.
I hope not.
But so yeah, I actually think they should have used her character more, a little bit. But I at the same time, I liked how her character got re-involved in the story, if you will. That was the important thing to keep the supernatural element of it going. There is a supernatural element, and there's a slasher element, and it's kind of tag teaming on which one is the more prominent one until the end. So score, I'm giving this a 3. I think that you guys will probably wonder why in the hell I did that, but I gave it a 3. And my favorite scene is since I can't I was hoping Christopher would just choose one element of the scene he chose and not both, because then I could choose the kill that goes with it. But
You can still choose it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to choose from in this.
So
No.
well, there isn't. But I will choose something that happens just a little bit earlier, and it involves a hammer and a nail and a knee. And
yeah, I was like, whoa. It's
it
turning into Saulville for a second.
What it was heading towards was kind of like, oh crap. And the way she was handling it, I really enjoyed her character, because she was like, okay, there's no reason for you to really scream and everything, because I'm just stuck in this, right? But that whole hammer, I was like, are they gonna do this? Are they gonna do this? This is oh my god, no, don't do this. How do you get away? How do you get out of that if that happens, right? Yeah, that worked. And then it keeps going from there. It pays off. So
Although I will say the most unbelievable aspect is what teenager leaves their room without their phone.
Oh God! For me, the most unbelievable aspect was when the Suki Waterhouse punched that girl, and then that girl punched her back. There's no way in hell that girl would have punched her back. She would have been laid out on the floor crying. Like,
Well,
no way. Those girls have not fought a day in their life.
I still kind of enjoyed it. Maybe it's just maybe I was like, hey, yeah, women
Girl
fighting.
fight.
To see them fighting, you know,
Girl
we,
like
fight.
prize
we
fighters.
needed something at that point. So yeah, it happens again.
I don't know. I kind of like that, other than just being like how sometimes they do fights with like they just make the women not able to fight at all.
Yeah,
it's
I
a good
guess.
clobber, man. It's a
Which is what happens to her friend character, where she's like, oh,
oh, like that.
yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. That is our review of Seance. It's heading to theaters here shortly, so check it out and let us know what you think down below. Christopher, Dave, Vanessa, thank you for joining me. This was so much fun, or at least it was for me. I hope you had fun too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Thank you, dog.
yeah, I mean, just to be able to watch that 20 minutes of fun was worth it.
There you go.
That's for sure.
There you go. Could be worse, right? That could have sucked too, right? All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.